Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think a lot of us can relate to as parents, kids and their fears.
Absolutely. It's one of those parenting challenges that can really make you feel, well, a little helpless sometimes.
You got that right. It feels like every time you turn around there's a monster under the bed or a creepy crawly in the bathtub, am I right?
And as much as we want to just erase those fears with a magic wand, it just doesn't work like that.
Definitely not. But you know what? We can give our kids the tools they need to face those fears head on. And luckily, you all sent in a bunch of awesome resources on this very topic.
Always love digging into those listener suggestions.
Me too. So we're diving deep into this article today called 5 Tips for Helping Your Child Overcome Fears. Sounds super promising, right?
5 tips sounds manageable, even for us busy parents. Let's hear them. Okay, so tip number 1 is acknowledging their fears. Sounds simple enough, but I think we've all fallen into the trap of accidentally dismissing our kids' fears, especially when they seem a little,
Irrational.
yeah, exactly. Like when my son was terrified of the bathtub drain. I mean, come on, it's a drain.
I totally get it. But remember, their feelings are valid, even if the fear itself seems irrational to us adults.
Right, like their fear of the dark. I used to say, it's just dark, there's nothing to be scared of, which, looking back, probably wasn't the most helpful response.
It's so easy to fall into that trap, though, because we want to reassure them. But sometimes the best way to reassure them is to actually validate what they're feeling.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we acknowledge the fear without, making it a bigger deal?
Instead of minimizing their fear, try saying something like, I understand the dark feels scary right now. It's okay to be scared. You're letting them know that you hear them and that their feelings make sense, even if you don't necessarily understand them completely.
Makes sense. So we've acknowledged the fear. Now, how do we help them actually, conquer it? That's the tricky part,
Yeah,
right?
that's where gradual exposure comes in. Instead of throwing them into the deep end, so to speak, you're building a bridge, one baby step at a time.
Okay, I like that. Baby steps. So instead of expecting them to sleep in a pitch black room, we could maybe,
Start with a night light, and then maybe switch to a dimmer one as they get more comfortable. You can even make it fun, like a game.
ooh, I like that. Turn it into an adventure. That actually reminds me of something I did with my son and the bathtub drain. We started by pouring water into the tub with the drain covered, then uncovered it for a few seconds, then a little longer, and eventually he was totally fine with it.
You see, you were already using these techniques without even realizing it. That's called systematic desensitization, by the way, breaking down the fear into manageable steps.
Love that. Systematic desensitization. It sounds so official.
Right.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's a powerful tool.
Absolutely. Okay, what about these next 2 tips? Providing reassurance and modeling bravery. They seem kind of connected, don't you think?
Definitely. And I think it's important to remember that modeling bravery doesn't mean pretending you're not afraid.
Oh, that's a good point, because we're not always brave, right?
Exactly. It's more about showing them how you deal with your own fears. So if your child is scared of spiders and you are too, you can say something like, okay, this spider is making me a little nervous, but I'm going to take a deep breath and gently move it outside.
Oh, I love that. So you're not pretending you enjoy being around spiders, you're just showing them how to handle the situation calmly.
Exactly. And for fear of the dark, you could say something like, it's a bit dark in here, which makes me a little nervous, but I have my trusty flashlight, so let's see what we can find.
Okay, so we're not just telling them to be brave, we're showing them how to be brave. That's so powerful.
Right. It's about giving them the tools and strategies to cope with those feelings rather than just telling them not to have them.
I love it. Okay, on to the final tip, which is teaching relaxation techniques. The article mentions deep breathing, which is great, but I feel like some kids might need other strategies. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. Deep breathing is great, but there are so many other relaxation techniques that work well for kids. One of my favorites is visualization.
Visualization, like imagining yourself somewhere else.
Exactly. So if your child is scared of monsters under the bed, you could have them close their eyes and imagine themselves as a brave knight, their bed a magnificent castle, and their flashlight a magic wand that keeps the monsters away.
I love that, turning their fear into a source of empowerment.
Exactly. And the more they practice this visualization, the more empowered they'll feel in real life too.
So cool. These 5 tips are amazing. It's like a toolkit for tackling any fear, big or small.
And here's the best part. These tips aren't just for kids. They're for all of us.
So true. Because let's be honest, we all have our own fears, right?
Absolutely. We never really stop facing our fears no matter how old we get.
So the next time you find yourself facing a fear, big or small, remember those tips. Acknowledge it, break it down, model bravery, provide reassurance, and relax. Great advice for kids and grown-ups alike, wouldn't you say?
Couldn't agree more.
Now, listeners, we want to hear from you. How have you used these tips to help your child overcome their fears? Or maybe you've even used them yourself. Share your stories with us. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep diving deep.